Hi, I'm Nancy Shanto, and I'm here to read to you about the embodied rescue dynamic. This is the second video about this article. And this section is called The Embodied Rescue Dynamic in Relationships, Attempting Shortcut. I'll read it and then I'll talk about it. In Skills for Change coaching, we use the embodied rescue dynamic to help us analyze what happened in the past and how to get unstuck so that we make agreements that work for everyone. The rescue dynamic theory comes from Eric Berne's transactional analysis, and I first read about it in Radical Therapy, the second decade, edited by Beth Roy and Claude Steiner. Because we make change most effectively through the body, I help clients feel how the various energies of the rescue dynamic shape their bodies, and we design micro-interventions that help them make different choices moment by moment in the midst of difficult transactions. By paying attention to how power is used in a simple transaction, such as what to do about a zebra couch and a golden retriever dog, we can see where we are skipping important steps in our negotiations and remind ourselves to recenter our bodies, words, and actions around what we want to produce in our relationships and lives. Let's consider the energies of the embodied rescue dynamic. Rescue. We are rescuing when we do more than our share or more than we want to do. Often in people's bodies, rescue will show up as overextension. We lean forward, move faster and toward the other. There is often a lot of upper body action. The legs are involved as sources of energy and motion, although people who feel rescuer energy tend not to feel grounded. When we give for too long or too often, we end up burning out, feeling exhausted and depleted, and moving into the victim state. Victim. The energy of victim most often includes some kind of collapse, although this will look different when we allow ourselves to feel like a victim versus when we fight or avoid feeling this way. Most people will breathe shallowly, and we might notice some kind of compression of the spine, sag in our shoulders, and dropping of our head and gaze. When we feel exhausted and overwhelmed by victim energy, we are unable or unwilling to do our share of the work. Some of us stay in the victim state for a long time and may end up depressed and resigned, while others of us will attempt to avoid the victim state, rebelling and moving into the energy of persecution as a way to shift our shape and make a change. Persecutor. In the energy of persecutor, people report feeling a range of emotions from slightly irritated to frustrated and impatient, increasing in intensity through anger and even rage. In the persecutor stage of the embodied rescue dynamic, we might identify our feelings and shape as appropriate for a fight. Our muscles harden, our gaze narrows, we might take a wider stance in our feet and square our shoulders. We might feel righteous and certain we know what the other person did to cause us to feel this way. Once again, our energy tends to move up and forward, this time with more physical tension throughout our body. Some of us avoid these negative feelings and attempt to bypass the persecutor state, feel guilty for our bad victim and rebellion behavior, and return to the rescuer state. Others will explode in anger and then feel guilt and shame for our outburst and attempt to repair through more rescue. My partner and I were in the early stages of love, and we were both rescuing, doing more than our share trying to solve the problem of the couch. He brought home a leather love seat from the thrift store and designated it the dog couch. I found a set of blankets that I threw over the zebra couch to keep it clean for everyday use. I felt more and more resigned as the zebra couch got dirtier, and he reacted more defensively when I would sigh about the stains. But we didn't sit down and talk about each decision before we took action. The problem with shortcuts is that people don't have the same stories about what each other is doing and feeling and why. We tend to tell stories to ourselves where we are the central figure. We interpret the world through our own viewpoint and our own values. Yet we don't really know what the other person is thinking and feeling unless we ask. My partners and my body were growing more and more tense, and I found myself avoiding the living room altogether. We both knew something was wrong, but neither of us knew what to do about it. One more paragraph. I didn't like the dog couch. It was covered in a veneer of mud and dirt and seemed impossible to keep clean. Plus, it made the living room feel crowded. My partner's solution to our space problem seemed to be more furniture, and he didn't tend to ask me before he brought something home. When we rescue, we tend to burn out and lose energy. Not only are we doing more than our share, often we don't get appreciated for our actions because the other person didn't ask us to do whatever we're doing. I started feeling like a victim in the Department of House Aesthetics. In order for him to feel powerful and that he had a say, it seemed I had to agree to everything he wanted. As time passed, my sense of irritation and frustration grew. I was rebelling against my internal sense that I should just go along and make things work, and moving into persecutor energy in the rescue dynamic. I felt myself tensing up every time the dogs jumped on a couch or shook themselves dry after coming in for the rain. I knew that if I got angry and said what I was thinking, we might end up fighting over the couch, the house, and how we were sharing power as a couple, and I didn't want that. I also didn't want to keep rescuing. It was past time for me to figure out what I wanted and sit down for a conversation with my partner. So I wanted to share a little bit more about what rescue looks like. So these are descriptions of the rescue positions, what the rescue or energy feels like in our body, and how we interact when we're in a rescue dynamic. How we can tell we're rescuing if we have these feelings in our body, or we can also tell if we're making decisions without checking with the other person, trying to fix things. One of the big markers for rescue is when we try and do something to fix something. And that usually involves us taking responsibility, maybe over responsibility for the circumstance, such that if I change something or fix something, maybe the problem will go away. And that's a very tempting thought. It would be lovely if we had enough power over this situation that if we changed something about what we were doing, we would be able to solve the problem. And often in relationships, that's not where the solution lies. The solution actually lies in the relationship itself, in the transaction where both people feel heard and understood, and then the relationship produces the solution where the agreement is made in the context of the relationship. That is where cooperation occurs. So we're looking for a multiple step process here. One is just the acknowledgement and the understanding of what is rescue, how does it show up, when do I know I'm in it? And then the other is, how do I start to move out of it by connecting with myself, listening to my own body? And the next section is going to be about those solutions. All right. Hope this helps.